Hello everyone, I'm Coach Tickety, and today I'm going to be breaking down my top picks for heroes you should be locking in if you want the easiest time ranking up this season. I'll be talking about my top 3 picks for each of the 3 roles in-game, so whether you're a tank, DPS, or support player, we've got some hero recommendations for you. If you like this type of content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and let me know down in the comments who have you been playing the most this season, who have you been ranking up with. I want to see if you guys match up with my hero choices here. Alright, let's jump right into it, starting with the tank role. My first pick here is going to be Ramatra. Now, personally, I find Ramatra to be a pretty boring tank to play, but there is no doubt in my mind that he finds a ton of value whenever he's picked. And he's also a pretty easy and straightforward character to play. As long as you're not mashing all your buttons constantly, you're probably doing a pretty good job on Ramatra. His playstyle revolves around getting enough poke damage in with his Omnic form so that enemies are forced into close range so he can beat them up in his Nemesis form. He doesn't threaten with huge damage numbers at range or anything, it's just a very consistent stream of damage. You won't be finding too many kills unless someone's standing still, for example, but it is very consistent and it's great for forcing out abilities from the enemy team and at charging your ultimate. You should basically think of your ranged projectile as a filler. Every time you're not doing something else with your kit, using your shield, using your Nemesis form, you should be trying to sneak in damage here just to maximize your value. And like I said, since this is so consistent and putting out pressure, it's going to force the enemy to get closer to you or just do something else around the map, and then you've got all your other abilities to react to those things. You can use your shield to absorb important damage moments or cooldowns, and you can swap to Nemesis form and use your Ravenous Vortex whenever people get too close and you want to keep them there. And then we get to Ramatra's big playmaking moments with his ultimate. Even after this got nerfed down to 20 seconds instead of lasting indefinitely, which was a much needed change, it still feels like this ultimate lasts forever. And now with a new quality of life change coming in this mid-season patch, he gets the free armor refresh even if he's still in Nemesis form when he casts his ultimate. This is probably one of the easiest ultimates to use and almost guarantees a teamfight win. As long as you can keep enough enemies in range, and of course provided that you don't die during your own ultimate, this is pretty close to just an I win button every time you use it. Even against huge defensive abilities like Sound Barrier or Transcendence from enemy supports, you will just outlast them with that 20-second timer. Again, just stay alive and keep people in range and you're doing a good job. Moving on to my next tank pick here, it's going to be Reinhardt. Now, Rein is, and probably always will be, the tank you'll want to pick if you truly want to assert your dominance in the tank line. If you're trying to MTD the enemy tank player, Rein is your best bet. Rein is also incredibly popular right now because of the rise of the Brawl meta once again. There is no better tank in the game to lead a Brawl-based composition thanks to all of his incredible close-range damage as well as the self-sustaining nature of his kit. So even if you're not able to squash all your enemies with your giant hammer, you're probably able to at least threaten them with that close-range damage and then keep yourself alive using your shield. If you find yourself dying early as Reinhardt, it's probably because you found yourself overextended, you tried to go for a greedy pin, or you got separated from your team. Things like this happen all the time, but keep in mind that Reinhardt has all the tools he needs to keep himself alive, so you have all the tools you need as a player to make sure that you can carry these games. As Reinhardt, you're probably always looking for that opportunity to close the distance, start swinging and throwing fire strikes, and of course landing those big earth shatters, but make sure that you're able to self-sustain as well. Make sure you're able to outlast enemies in a team fight. You're not just going all in and dying just as fast. But once you get used to those things, once you are able to read how aggressive you can get without getting punished, then Reinhardt has some of the best playmaking tools in the game. Not only does he have incredibly strong burst in the close range with his hammer swings and fire strike like we mentioned, but he's also got one-shot potential with his pin combo as well as potential team wipe ultimates with his earth shatter. So definitely a lot of nuance with Reinhardt's kit. You do need to be able to read situations a little bit better than average, but keep in mind that even if things go wrong, you can always put up your shield back up and try again. Next up for the tanks, my last pick here is Wrecking Ball. And I know I started this video off by saying these are the easiest heroes to rank up with, and Wrecking Ball is probably one of the hardest tanks to play alongside Doomfist, but if you can get used to his movement, if you can get those grapples and rollouts going, then there's no better tank in the game for such consistent and strong engage potential. What makes Wrecking Ball so strong in a lot of situations is simply his ability to outpace any other tank in the game. Compare him to another dive tank like Winston, right? If you take Winston for example, he's diving in, he's using his jump, his bubble, and then maybe he gets a kill, maybe they win a fight, but if they don't, he has to back up and reset, wait for those cooldowns to come back. By the time that's happened, Wrecking Ball could have gone in, gone out about 2 or 3 times before that bubble comes back off cooldown. So even if Wrecking Ball isn't winning a team fight off of every single engage, he'll simply have more attempts than any other tank in the game. And he's also one of the safest tanks in the game. With the ability to hide his head hitbox and the constant mobility he gets in his ball form, he's very hard to keep up with, and if the enemies start chasing you, they're probably wasting their time. And of course his ultimate, the Minefield, while it did get nerfed slightly this mid-season patch, the arming time's a little bit longer now, it's still an incredibly consistent engage tool, and if you drop it on top of the right opponents, they're probably getting sent back to the spawn room. So yeah, like I said, Wrecking Ball is still one of the hardest tanks to play. He's very mechanically demanding to find the most value on him, but even if you can just achieve a baseline of understanding and comfort with his movement, you'll be finding value in no time. And keep in mind, even if you're not finding a kill or wiping a team every single time, the next engage is only a few seconds away. Now, before we get any further, guys, don't forget to check out GameLeap.com. If you're here watching this video, it's probably because you're looking for new ways to improve as a player and rank up this season. Well, there's no better way to do that and get all the information you need over on our website. You'll find hundreds of guides made by top-level coaches, and there's more being added every single week. So whether you're brand new to the game or you're trying to push to the top 500 leaderboard, there's something on our website for you to learn from. So click the link below this video or just head over to GameLeap.com right now and get your membership started today. Alright, moving on to the DPS line, my first pick here is going to be Junkrat, the J Silly. I dare you to name a hero that finds an easier time doing the most damage in the lobby, other than maybe Bastion. Compared to Bastion though, Junkrat is much safer. He can play at longer ranges, play around corners, and still do very consistent damage. He also has more mobility and I would say a much stronger ultimate. In the lower to mid ranks, you can probably get by on a hero like Junkrat just by dishing out a ton of damage into the enemy front line. But even moving into the higher ranks, Junkrat still remains a strong pick because of his added mobility and his ability to play make with his one-shot combo onto squishy members in the backline. I like to think of playing Junkrat as putting the enemy team to a test. If they can handle all that frontline damage, then you might need to get more creative. But if they can't, then you kind of just win the game. But once they start dealing with you, maybe they put too many shields or diva defense matrix in your face and things like that, then you might need to get creative and lean into that assassination Junkrat playstyle, which again still finds a ton of value if you can get in and get out alive. And like I mentioned, Junkrat also has a pretty powerful ultimate that has the ability to end a team fight before it even starts by getting a strong pick or sometimes 5. And there's also a lot of creativity with the Riptire itself. You can change the way you approach an enemy, you can mix up your positioning, the timing at which you actually detonate the bomb. There's so many ways to outplay opponents here just by messing with their expectations. So yeah, Junkrat, very easy to find a base level value with and so much room for growth as you start ranking up with him as well. Very solid pick right now. Next on the DPS list, this should be of no surprise to anyone watching, is going to be Cassidy. Long-range hit-scan weapons like Cassidy's are such a defining characteristic of Overwatch 2 and of FPS games as a whole. Cassidy's also been seeing a somewhat steady rollout of small but consistent buffs to his kit. We've had the roll and ultimate damage reduction, the ability to roll in midair, and most recently the very significant buff to his fall-off range. This leads to Cassidy being a very strong jack-of-all-trades type hit-scan character with very few weaknesses. He's got the range to contest heroes like Ashe or sometimes even Widowmaker on the right map, as well as very consistent close range damage with his headshot button on the magnetic grenade. And let's all take a moment to remember that Cassidy can still two-shot people with his incredibly fast-firing revolver. A headshot and a body shot will finish off any 200 HP member, and 3 body shots will do the same. And while this isn't as strong as a one-shot headshot from snipers like Hanzo or Widowmaker, for example, this incredible damage is very strong in a healing-heavy meta, with heroes like Mercy having incredible healing numbers, Baptiste and Ana's having burst healing. Being able to quickly finish a target with someone like Cassidy is an incredibly strong part of their kit. There's a reason why Cassidy is and probably always will be one of the first characters players gravitate to when they first pick up a game like Overwatch 2. He's very simple, he's fun and rewarding to play, and right now he's incredibly impactful and can absolutely carry your games. Moving on to my last pick for DPS here, we're gonna lock in Tracer. And again, similar to Wrecking Ball in the tank role, there's definitely a higher mechanical requirement to playing Tracer, especially at a high level with the cooldown management of blinks and the close range tracking that's required to find value on her. But Tracer has so many unique tools that allow her to do things that no other DPS character can. And using these tools at a high level allows her to carry a game even if she's not popping off in the damage stats. If you need a character to contest a payload, hold down a flank angle, force duels, follow up a dive, there is no one that will do this more quickly or more consistently than Tracer. And again, similar to Wrecking Ball, even if you don't finish off a kill every single time you go in, you'll always be able to keep yourself safe by using recall or even just sometimes using your blinks. Just remember to get creative on the character. There's no point in playing Tracer if all you're going to do is sit behind your tank and shoot any targets they're walking into. You need to be able to use your mobility and take over the map if you're going to find success on this character, but once you reach that level, once you start seeing the game in a different way, you'll be able to absolutely run the show. Alright, rounding things out, let's move on to supports. And before I get to my top 3, I do want to make an honorable mention here, because people are probably going to be mad if I don't talk about them, to Mercy. I don't think she's strong solo carry potential or anything like that, but if you have even a single member on your team who is doing even just moderately well, having a pocket on them is always going to be a good thing. Her healing makes them never die, quite literally, and the damage boost is going to amplify their pressure more than it seems. This is incredible tools on a single support hero that makes playing against a Mercy incredibly frustrating if the teammate that she's pocketing is finding good value. But I was making this list thinking more about what if my teammates are doing nothing, if we need to truly solo carry on some of these characters, and that's where I landed on my top 3, starting with my first pick, Baptiste. Baptiste really just has everything you would want in a support character. He's got incredibly strong healing numbers that are AoE, along with some burst healing with his regenerative burst. He's got his panic get out of jail free card button for him and his entire team in the immortality field, which also just got buffed in the mid-season patch to be much stronger. And he's also got very consistent damage output. He's got his primary fire, which is hit scan, a very rare trait for the support line, which allows him to do very consistent damage and even rival some DPS if he's able to focus on it. The key to getting the most value on Baptiste is to maximize your APM, or your actions per minute. And in other games, this makes more sense when you're hitting a bunch of keys and mashing buttons and things like that. When I say APM in a game like Overwatch, it just means whether you're able to do enough things all of the time. So if you're doing enough healing output, enough damage output, managing your cooldowns properly, all that stuff, all at the same time. When you play Baptiste for the first time, you'll probably default to focusing heavily on healing and reacting with your immortality field, which is a good baseline to start with, but the more you're able to lean into his damage and get aggressive with that very powerful weapon of his, then the more influence you'll have over your games. Just keep in mind that we want to lean heavily into that damage and offensive playstyle without losing anything from our healing and defensive playstyle. We need to be able to react, we need to be able to keep our teammates up while also doing damage to find the most value on Baptiste. But once you can do that, then you will have one of the highest skill ceilings in the game on any role, let alone just support, and will be able to carry a good chunk of your games, no problem. Moving on, my next support pick is going to be Ana. And sure, I might be a little bit biased. I've only been playing Ana since she was released back in 2016 as my most played hero, but regardless, if you're trying to rank up this season, then there is no doubt in my mind that Ana has everything you will ever need to do just that. She of course has really strong healing output, usually focused on a single target though, unlike Baptiste, but her real value comes from her abilities. The Sleep Dart and the Biotic Grenade both are incredible tools for just dominating a lobby in Overwatch 2. The key to finding value with them though is to make sure that your teammates are able to close out those opportunities. You can sleep a target, you can anti-nade them and things like that, but you're rarely going to be the one actually finishing them off. So make sure your teammates are around, ready to finish the kill, and then help you snowball those advantages. And keep in mind that just like Baptiste, we do want to lean into aggression anytime we can. We want to be weaving in damage, we want to go for anti-heals more than we want to nade our teammates or ourselves, but we need to make sure that going for those opportunities isn't costing us anything defensively. We don't want to throw a nade when we're down to 1 HP, even if it hits everyone. If we're dying in the process, that's not a good trade for us. And speaking of leaning into aggression, who better to round out the support list than Zenyatta? What if I told you there was a character in the game that could simply look at an enemy and cut their health pool by 1/4? Better yet, what if I told you they had a one-shot combo that has no fall-off damage and can outrange Widowmaker? Not enough? Okay, what if they had a defensive ultimate that has the highest healing output in the game and basically renders your entire team unkillable? Seems pretty strong, no? Again here, there is of course a higher skill requirement to learning and playing Zenyatta. He needs to be able to keep himself safe since he has no mobility and no defensive tools that he can use on himself. And of course, to find the most value on Zenyatta, you do need to land a few shots. There is a higher mechanical demand here, since if you're not getting enough damage in, it's probably not worth picking Zenyatta. But if you can get past those barriers, then Zenyatta becomes the best DPS character in the game. Support. He is so strong that at a high level, teams will change the draft of their compositions just to enable a Zenyatta more efficiently. They will play heroes like Brigitte to make sure that Zen can get more aggressive without losing any safety, since he's got that personal bodyguard right beside him. Overall, Zenyatta is just straight up busted. But he is of course a glass cannon. So again, the skill requirement here is learning how to keep yourself safe, making sure you're not overstepping any of your positions, making sure you're not taking any duels that don't favor you, all that kind of good stuff. but once you can cross that threshold, once you are able to start getting some shots in, applying discords consistently, there is no better support in the game in my mind to absolutely dominate and rank up with right now. I feel like Overwatch 2 balance is in a pretty healthy state right now. There might be some outliers, some heroes might feel a little bit too strong or maybe a little unfun to play against, but overall, there's a ton of variety in heroes being played successfully, and you shouldn't limit yourself to just the heroes on this list if you want to find success. But these are my top picks for every role for ranking up right now, not only because they are easy to find value with, but because I think they are genuinely some of the strongest heroes in the meta right now, and they are worth playing for everyone. Even if you've never tried them before, I recommend checking them out. Don't forget to check out the link in the description for GameLeap.com. Over there you'll find hundreds of guides made by top level coaches that go super in depth about anything you'll want to know about the game. So maybe after this video you've decided to pick up a new main. You can give yourself a head start to learning those new characters by checking out our in-depth, step-by-step hero courses over on the site. So click that link below the video or just type in GameLeap.com in your browser and sign up today. You won't regret it, I promise. But that's going to be it for me today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.